Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jared Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jared Moon here with Joe Courtney. What's up, Joe?
Hello.
Ashley Hicks. How you doing?
Good.
She's here.
I'm here. I'm back.
Finally.
It's a big deal. And then we have Kyle Schrum.
Hey.
That's what you do.
Yep.
I'm going to start with Ashley since she's been gone. Updates. How's life?
Life is good. Life is getting somewhat normal-ish. But yeah, well, especially with training, that's what I was shooting for right there. So I've finally been cleared to do basically garage gym athlete workouts, harder to kill, if you will. I was cleared to do high intensity, but only a couple times a week, a few weeks back. So I got to basically do meet yourself Saturdays. But I was still taking things down and kind of doing my own stuff. So this week I'm back on harder to kill 100%, and it's been good. I was not excited about the pull-up ladder, but one's got to get better at pull-up somehow.
It's a good place to come back to.
I know, but I ran today and it was fabulous. I love running, and I know Kyle.
If Kyle can do it,
that's right. Anyone could do it. But yeah,
We have the shirt now.
Nuh-uh. Did he actually create it? I haven't seen it.
Well, I think it's on special order.
You have to ask Trampus for it, but
he has to make it specially for you.
I don't think he wants it public.
That's awesome. But yeah, officially off my elimination diet. I've added stuff back into my diet, and now I know what triggers me, which has been really cool. Like certain things that I never thought triggered me, if that makes any sense. Like bell peppers. I have to have them cooked. I can't have them raw. But anyway, so it's been a process, it's been a journey, and it's still going on. But now I'm kind of just tracking my macros a little bit just to see now that I've added things back in. I just want to make sure that I'm getting a good amount of protein, fat, and carbs. So yeah, that's pretty much my life.
Awesome.
I never eat bell peppers raw. I just can't do it.
Like an apple? That's how you would dive into them?
People do that, and it's gross.
I didn't mean like that. Like if I made a mango salsa, I would have raw red bell pepper in it with mango and jalapenos and stuff. And yeah, that
I like bell peppers. I've never eaten it apple style, but I think I could. I don't think I... All right, Joe, how's life?
Busy. Very busy. Getting in our staycations where we can. Just over the weekend, I have to get this wording right to make sure. I officiated one of my best friend's weddings. So I did that over the weekend. So that was fun. It went good. And then we had... Did
you have to do any special training for that?
Yeah. You go online and say, I want to be ordained. And then you click enter. And then you go, here's your certificate.
That's what I thought. Cool.
Yeah. So it was actually my second wedding that I've done in my life. That was a good time. And Liz forced me to do yoga, and she will tell you otherwise that I was okay with it, but she's not here to defend herself, so it's her fault. And
I do yoga all the time.
Yeah, it was very uncomfortable. Though we had some good laughs about it because it was just going through after a while. Things got funny. Like, oh no, that's not happening. Not doing that. And then, I shared you guys my awesome dad joke I had at the end of it, so it just made it all worth it.
It was good.
And yeah, she's been getting very antsy and restless here, which is totally fine. So we go on walks, and somehow we went to a park with just a park by the water. It had a 3.5 mile loop, and we somehow turned the 3.5 mile loop into 5 miles because that's just, wrong turns in a loop happen, I guess.
I've had that happen before with 3 children but let's do the 1.5 mile trail walk with our kids. And we ended up doing 5 miles.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's about it. So nothing big besides that the wedding was kind of cool and different.
It is cool. Shaking it up.
Adding it
I'm
to my resume.
glad to know people are still getting married in COVID situations.
Yeah, luckily we didn't have to wear a mask during.
Kyle.
Well, it's funny that you bring up hiking. I have an irritating hiking story that happened on Sunday.
Did you have to run?
No, I did not have to run. No.
So I didn't spoil it. All right.
The most irritating thing about this.
Anyway, so we took the kids on a hike on Sunday. It was just a little like in and back thing on a really, really easy trail, obviously, because our kids are 3 and 1. So they're not going to walk very fast or very far. And so we went in, stopped by a creek, threw some rocks, came back out. Anyway, and let me preface this by saying I'm not one of these guys who just absolutely hates like the whole mask thing, with COVID and all that. Like I just I do my thing. I keep to myself. I'm not really like passing judgment on other people, but this kind of irritated me on the hiking trail. We were coming back and this is a really, really easy trail. It's over 6 feet wide. I mean, you can walk like 4 people side by side down this trail very, very easily. And so we're walking back with our kids. We're carrying one of them. Like we're not taking up very much space on the trail. And these 2 women are walking towards us going the opposite direction. And one of them reaches up and puts her mask on as she's passing by us. We're not even close to 6 feet, like within 6 feet of each other. And we're outside. And we're outside. But for some reason, she felt the need when she looked at us and made eye contact with us to put her mask on. And for whatever reason, it just really, really irritated me that
I think it's funny that it irritates you.
we are outside. Like, I don't even have a mask with me because we're outside.
She looked at you and saw Rona.
That must be what it was.
Did you feel offended because you felt like she thought you were dirty?
Well, I do now. I didn't even think about that.
What I was thinking of.
I don't see why else that would be a trigger point because you obviously had to take you felt grimy.
Yeah, I guess that is. I guess now I'm just now settling with what it was that bothered me about it. But
yeah.
Anyway, just whatever. People are dumb. Maybe I'm included in that.
I've actually had that happen.
Which part?
Walking by somebody and then putting their mask on when they didn't have a mask on. And I was more like, good idea. You don't know what I could have. That's got to cover all your bases.
I don't know. I wasn't anywhere close to him, man. We were outside. I don't get it. Anyway, whatever.
You're about to take the podcast political. Because
nope, I'm not going there.
I didn't know a pandemic could ever get political. I didn't think so, but it happened. So
for anybody who wants masks posts or any comments on that, just direct them, tag Kyle, nobody else.
Don't contact support about your mask opinions.
Kyle
directly.
Just put me in there and I will ignore you.
All right.
Hey, Jared, how's the sauna?
Which one?
The outside sauna that is Texas, and then the inner sauna that is like just increased Texas, and then the actual sauna that might not even be used.
So the actual sauna is not hooked up yet. It's being hooked up in 36 hours. So it was very hard to find an electrician to hook it up, it wasn't hard the first time. It was hard the second time. I don't know. This is just like a different setup in my house. It's a little bit more complicated. But that'll be set up soon. The garage that is a sauna has been good. I've been actually doing, at first I was like, I'm just going to work out all mornings. But it was almost too cool in the morning. I didn't like it. I was like, it could be like upper 70s, low 80s. And I was just like, I want to sweat a little bit more.
Like a good temperature. It was too good of a temperature.
Yeah, it was not what I liked. So now I'm splitting it up about 50-50. So about half my workouts are going in the morning, half in the middle of the day where it's a lot hotter. So that's been good. a lot more sweat involved in the later attempts. But it's funny how much it affects my performance, like so much so that I think that I'm like regressing in fitness, because it'll be like 115 degrees and my warm up will get my heart rate to like 160. And then anything beyond that, like doing intervals or whatever, like it's like the slightest little thing like spikes my heart rate up, because your body's trying to cool itself so much and you're sweating so much. It's the same with a sauna. Like in the actual sauna, I can sit there and get my heart rate up to like, I forgot what it can get up to like 140, 150, just sitting there doing nothing because of how hot you get. So that's been fun. Just experimenting with that. Other updates from me, I've locked my diet up to 100% strict. I was like, I used to say 80-20. It was more closer, probably like 90-10, 85-15, but I locked it up 100% because I just want to see if I can, like, yeah, it's a slippery slope, right? Complacency is a slippery slope. You're like, I just go this 80-20 route. And then you're having an occasional beer on the weekend. You don't care about certain types of carbohydrates or food. And I'm like, well, okay, let's just, part of it is this transition period I just went through of moving. Yeah. It's hard to keep the diet really good during that time frame. So I felt like I got a little too out of whack. And now I'm like, okay, let's just lock it up 100%. And that has been good. I forgot how hungry I get when I don't have like grain carbohydrates that I can eat like easily, because those are very filling, right? Just and even basic stuff like oatmeal and things like that. I'm not around eating burgers every day or something like that, but just those things are a lot more filling. And so I'm kind of just 100% strict paleo right now, and had to like significantly increase my fats and everything. But that's been good. I haven't done strict diet in a while. I'm going to do it for at least 30 days and just see how things go.
Like Whole30 parameters?
Yeah. Yep. That's
cool.
it.
Yeah. It's always good that we like to mix in that too.
Yeah.
I'd also like to blame my transition period on the alcohol consumption. Just saying.
Well, that's what I was like. I went from like not drinking at all, and then my dad bought me a 12-pack of beer when I moved in. It was like the move in day, and he was like, it's been a hard, moving, stressful, like, have a beer. And I was like, all right, yeah, I'll have a beer. I thought he was going to take the beers with him. He left all 12 with me. And I was like, well, what am I going to do with these? I was like, okay, well, I'll only ever drink one. I tried to follow my rules, right? And then I did follow my rules, but it was just still not my normal. And I was like, okay, just gotta lock it up. So I did. And then the last thing is just a funny story. And this happened just like a few minutes ago. I just finished training. If you're on Hard to Kill track, then you did this workout today. This is the day we're recording it. It's where we did 30-30s, 60-60s, 90-90s, and then 3-minute work to rest ratio. And I was on my second set of intervals in the 3-minute one. So the worst one, trying to go hard for 3 minutes. I'm on my bike in the garage and a wasp comes in.
Oh no.
And he's not like on an exploratory mission. He was on a search and destroy mission. He was trying to get me, but I wanted to maintain my pace. And so I kept moving. And normally I have a hat on or like a shirt I can take off and like kill these things, because I've been a garage gym athlete for a long time. This is not my first bout with a bug. These things happen. You're swinging hats, you're swinging shirts, whatever. Today, my shirt's already off because of how hot it is, and I don't have a hat. Oh, so I'm there. I'm clipped in. I'm pedaling as fast as I can.
The clip.
He's like, taking shots at me, like dive bombing me. I'm like swatting him while trying to keep my pace on the bike erg. He like hits my back, but doesn't like sting me, I guess. And then I'm like, just going crazy back and forth. And this happened. I looked when it happened. It happened. I was a minute in, so I had 2 minutes left. I hadn't looked at the screen again. I'm over here fighting a wasp. And then he's like, okay, look, I can't get this guy. He leaves. I have like 7 seconds left of this interval. And I was like, well, how did I do? And I actually kept my pace the entire time. Somehow I matched that pace to all the other, the previous one and the next two. I somehow matched my pace. But what's interesting about it, the reason I'm telling the story, I did not feel like I was suffering or tired like I did the other 3 intervals of those 3 minutes where it was just absolute
your
hell.
mind was on the wasp.
Exactly. So how do we just like, is this something that we should like bottle up and sell? Like a wasp, a very angry wasp?
Yes. Just people are still in their garage. Release the wasps.
Exactly. Murder hornets. I've heard those are a thing. Something like that.
You can pretend like it's a murder hornet, but just maybe don't have one of those.
But then to finish, go ahead.
Sorry. I hope Emily was like in the bushes hiding and like videoed this whole thing.
It would have been funny because I was like, my feet would have come off if I wasn't clipped in. That's the best part about it is like my body's like rotating perfectly because my feet are locked into the pedals. But then to end it all off, I was on my last 3-minute interval. There's no wasp involved this time. And I'm trying to go fast. I'm trying to go hard because keeping that pace or above, my heart rate is extremely elevated. I'm in like zone 5 going fast. And then I see my neighbor walking from his house directly to me. And I'm like, oh, this is not good timing. This is not, I'm not going to stop. So you're going to be standing there awkwardly for a while. And, but he's a slow walker and he finally got there, but I had already in my brain mapped out, okay, the second this interval is over, I want to go in a corner and die somewhere because that's just kind of the type of workout it was. That was my plan after the workout. I didn't know what dying in a corner looked like, but that was my plan. And then he shows up. It was almost like the same with the wasp. There was like 10 seconds left in the interval. I finished real fast, got off, and then he wanted to have a conversation. And somehow I managed to do it. And I was like, I talked to him, and then it was over. And then after that, I was fully recovered by the end of the conversation. And so then I just went inside. So all this like, things being hard or whatever, we just need more distractions in crappy monostructural intervals is the moral to that story.
Read the room, dude.
I did. I'm sitting there with like, I'm a new neighbor, right?
Yeah.
So I'm there with my shirt off. You're walking onto my property into my garage. I don't know. It was a brave move, but he's a cool guy. All right. Well, I hope somebody took something away.
Those are awesome stories. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It doesn't happen all the time, but when they do, like I think I haven't had a good story since Salt Biscuit guy.
Yeah.
That was a good story.
And if you want to hear the Salt Biscuit story, good luck. I have no idea where it's at.
Yep.
Yeah.
No idea which episode that was.
I don't remember.
That was a long time ago. That was before the Beast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was like,
Because we kept making jokes about bringing Salt Biscuits to the Beast.
Well, then that might narrow it down to how many podcasts there are.
That was almost a year ago. So
yeah, basically.
So which number is this? This is 62? 61?
Started like 12. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. No one cares. Here we go. Let's get into the study. We're finally talking about rest times. I'm excited to be talking about rest times because of that one podcast we did where we looked at all of those recovery methods. That's where the laying down the fetal position came out as like a really good way to recover. But also there was in there was just mentioned these auto regulation rest being a good idea. And the title of this study is The Effect of Different Rest Intervals Between Agonist Antagonist Paired Sets on Training Performance and Efficiency. This was done in 2020. And what did they do? So we went over supersets, agonist, antagonist, and the supersets podcast episode. I think it was just called supersets. So if you guys want to check it out, we already talked about that. That's kind of also our solution. We call it body geometry. But what they did here was they wanted to look at different rest times in really the efficiency of the workout, which efficiency to them was how many pounds or kilograms they lifted. I think it was per minute. And then also total volume in the sets. So they were doing what they have. They had 18 men who were members of the Brazilian military, which is cool. And they had 1 year of training experience and a frequency of at least 3 times per week. And they had them do basically what they have, 4 conditions. They each had to do the 1 minute rest, 2 minute rest, 3 minutes, or the self-selected time of rest. And they were doing all of these like push-pull type stuff. So they would do 10 rep max load on row, bench press, superset, And then they would do the condition specific rest interval, which was either that 1, 2, 3 or self-selected rest. And then they would look at what I was talking about earlier. They would look at either the efficiency or total volume and kind of see which one was better. Now, the first thing that you have to take away or believe going into this is that efficiency, total volume per minute or whatever, how they calculate that, is a good thing, or higher volume is better. It is something I think that is like, you have to believe to think this is a good idea. But ultimately, it seemed like the winner was self-selected rest. And depending on how you look at it, the 3-minute did pretty good job in some cases, depending on how you look at these things. But the lower the better. Like the 1-minute rest was no bueno. And that's kind of the results of the study. I'll tell you what my takeaway is, but I want to hear what you guys have to say about it.
It's awesome that we got a rest time study, because probably our second most asked question, apart from like what are blocks or what's block 0, it's how long do I rest? So a lot of people want to know this, and it was really cool to see it broken down to, okay, 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, or you pick. And the fact that people were, I guess that they were just watching whenever they would stop and then start again. The fact that like people were naturally resting on average 2.5 minutes means that if you're not actually like timing your minutes, you're timing your rest, you're probably resting sufficiently enough. You don't need to worry about it unless you're actually like talking on the phone or doing something crazy. And 2 minutes was really good. 2.5 minutes was better, but 3 minutes was only marginally better than 2.5 minutes. So it seems like after you rest a certain period, you're going to cap out, and you're just going to flatline. So it seems like 3 minutes is probably the extreme max, and you probably don't need 3 minutes. So 2 to 2.5 minutes, I think, is really good to see. And that you're not getting
3 made you less efficient, right? It was like
better volume, because it's taking it's taking up too much time. So even if you're resting an extra 30 seconds, you're going to be fitting less into your, for us, it's for our blocks. So it's going to take too long. But 2 to 2.5 minutes is that sweet spot, and like I think it works out good.
So I think it comes back to, why are you training? What are you trying to get out of your training session? So one of the things they talked about was how the self-selected group, which, like we said, rested an average of 2.5 minutes. That's not the hard stop that everybody was going to, but that's just what the average was. So they actually were able to keep a sustainable effort across their rounds, but the 3-minute group was able to do more total volume. So to me, it's kind of, what is the aim of your training? Are you looking for sustainable and repeatable efforts, sustainable and repeatable performance, or are you looking to maximize the volume that you're getting out of your training? And so that's, to me, you got to answer that question before you kind of interpret this for yourself or decide which one you want to go with. If you want more sustainable efforts, then the self-selected group, which was resting for about 2.5 minutes each time. The self-selected group, just kind of going based off your own feeling. When you feel rested, then go again. That's going to help you be a little more sustainable and repeatable, versus just having a hard stop that's longer than other intervals. So that's what I got out of it.
For me, I was excited because Jared and I have talked about this multiple times. I rarely, even if there is prescribed rest within our training, I rarely adhere to that. I basically figure out when my body is rested or when my body is recovered, if you will. Now, if it's a shorter time of rest, like for example, today's workout of, 30, 30, 60, 60, for conditioning, then obviously I adhere to that. Unless it's something, it just depends. So if it's a lift and we're like maxing out, I think I will not go any longer than 2 minutes is what I typically adhere to. I find that if I rest longer, for some reason, Joe, kind of what you were saying, that it just takes too long, but also I find that my body is still it's like cooled off too much. Does that make any sense? So I like having my body still warm, so that way I can continue to, do the heavier lifts or whatever that is for training. So I would be interested to see for like a max, because I know it was a 10 rep max and it was supersetting with agonist and antagonist, but I would be interested to see like one lift I guess, and then even take it a step further of conditioning. But I guess conditioning is different because it's depending on the target goal, like, so there's multiple times where we've got, 10-second sprints, but then we rest like 2 or 3 minutes, but there's a reason behind that. So I guess conditioning is kind of tricky on that, but yeah, I liked this study.
I think it's pretty cool. I say in maybe all of my athlete briefs, unless it is something like an interval, I say rest as needed. And some people are like, cool, got it, rest as needed. Some people are like, what the hell? Like, how long do I rest? And I don't know if I just need to link this study.
Yeah.
The reason I say rest as needed, just because I know everybody, a long time ago, I used to calculate that out specifically for people. I'd be like, okay, we're at this percentage. I want you to rest for 3 minutes before the next one. Or we're at this percentage, rest 90 seconds. And sometimes we're doing time-based lifting, but most of the time we're not. And so all I calculate is, hey, if we're doing 4 sets, we have 1 block to do this. That gives someone, max 2.5 to 3 minutes to rest if they absolutely have to and want to max out this block. But if you're like Ashley and you want to go, hey, I only want to rest 60 seconds because I'm good to go, then that's fine too. You got all the volume done in the block that we provide in our training. And that's what I think is really interesting. They're looking at 2 things here. They're looking at total volume completed and the efficiency. And we kind of force efficiency with our blocks. And you'll notice if you can't fit everything that we want you to in the allotted blocks, sometimes that's intentional. Very rarely. I do it maybe like once or twice per cycle. I'll give you a workout that's absolutely impossible to finish and tell you to cap yourself. And that's just it's like a meet yourself type mentality. I'm just trying to piss you off a little bit and see how you deal with that. But otherwise, I know that you have enough time to rest in there. So we force that efficiency on you to be more efficient in your workouts by having that volume fit into like 10 minutes or 9 minutes or whatever it is. So I think resting as needed, when I say that, I think it's very applicable because you could, if you want to figure out this auto regulation rest thing, I wanted to try and give the Garage Gym athlete some sort of takeaway. You can just go completely off feel and be like, okay, I think I'm ready to hit another set and go. But you got to look at how long that's taking you, and maybe time it. Just like think first, hey, when do you feel ready? And time it after your last set. Okay, I feel ready at 2.5 minutes. Oh, wow, cool, perfect. Or if you don't feel ready for 5 minutes, then you are just going to have to force yourself to push a little bit harder. The ultimate takeaway I had from this study, though, was rest as needed, but don't rest too little. This seems like from this study specifically. So rest as needed seems to work, but if you do rest too little, it could be as a detriment to your later set performance. Like you just might not have as much energy. You might not have as much in the tank to pull off what you want to. And to Kyle's point, you need to know what you're training for. If you are doing some sort of energy system specific thing, and you need to try and adhere to that as much as possible. But again, some of these, like the published literature on energy systems, and we covered this in the last podcast, it might say 1 to 5 work to rest. But Ashley might actually only need 3, like 3 times the amount of work that she did to be fully recovered. Like we were monitoring her heart rate, blood lactate, everything. Was like, no, Ashley's ready at 3. And it's like, well, Jared's ready at 5, based off of his heart rate and his lactate. And I think it's gonna be different for everybody. So we try to adhere to what's published when we're doing energy system specific work. But if you are like, you're 1,000% recovered and you know it, you could probably go again without having to wait for these longer rest intervals in energy system training. But yeah, that's it. I think it's cool. We finally answered that question and we can point people to the Rest Times podcast.
And this is specifically about strength and stuff training, not conditioning. Because those conditioning intervals, we actually specifically have those set up for a reason.
Yeah.
So let's just preface that as well.
And more importantly, it was supersets.
Yep.
And there are some other studies as well I looked at where people did barbell lifts and things, and they had self-selected rest, and the results weren't that much different, to be honest. It was all in lifting. It seems like self-selected rest is okay. I do think with maxing out, like, moving to fit week or whatever, I will rest longer periods of time between max out attempts. That's the only time I rest more than I think that I need to. Cool. Anything else on resting?
No.
Breath by James Nestor is this week's topic. What'd you guys think of the book?
So good.
That's fascinating.
Kyle, you liked it.
Yes, I'll give a thumbs up to those.
Okay, well, and
why would I not like it?
Your comment on Slack 5 seconds after you started reading it.
Oh, well, that was not out of boredom. I guess just reading the book. Well, listening to the book for those of you who don't consider audiobooks reading.
It's not.
Listening to the book and being more conscious of breath in general was making me yawn more. So apparently it was boring, according to some people. But no, it was just being conscious of breathing. And
I thought that's what you meant.
And actually, I need to mute my microphone so I can yawn right now because we're talking about it. So no, I was just more conscious of it. And so I was.
Oh, man, I thought we were coming into this and like you were going to. I knew Joe and Ashley liked it, so I thought you were going to be like the hater here.
Oh.
That's unfortunate.
I'm sorry to disappoint.
Yeah. We always need that person when we're reviewing books.
I can throw out some stuff that I didn't like about it.
I could throw out some hate.
Yeah.
I'm still heated up with that damn mask.
Yeah, I can. Yeah. Can't breathe as well with a mask on. No, I'm not going there.
All right. So what were some takeaways on this one?
It makes you more mindful of your breath, I think. Well, I know. Just because I feel like after reading the book and listening to, so I listened to it too. I didn't actually read it, but listening to, most importantly, I guess, the guy that was a vocal training coach, which made me think back to my singing days. And he talked about, breathing through your diaphragm and all sorts of stuff, as well as breathing in through your nose and not mouth breathing. That was the biggest thing for me. So I am a night guard where I have to, because I grind my teeth at night. And so I haven't done the tape like Jared has, but I just make sure, like, as I fall asleep, that my mouth is 100% closed. And so the first night it took me, like, I didn't get very good sleep because I was just so self-conscious about it. I was like, I will breathe just through my nose, because you probably mouth breathe a little bit in the middle of the night. So I am interested to try the tape, but the one thing that I thought was crazy was the South American culture that taped their kids' mouths shut to basically train them to only breathe through their nose, and how much it changes your mouth shape. The guy who wrote the book, his mouth was the size of his mouth was shrinking. He talked about he had to remove, not just his wisdom teeth, but then like there were other things that were going on with his mouth, and only through breathing through his nose and working with someone, he actually was able to get, basically his soft palate raised. Like, so many things changed for him, as well as he was no longer having allergies and no longer having all these sicknesses and colds. And so how breathing actually contributes to health as well, which that is what blew my mind with this book, because I had never thought of, we just breathe every single day and you don't really think about it. And then how the way you breathe can actually change your health and actually be either detrimental if you're breathing straight through your mouth, or it can actually help you if you're breathing through your nose.
Kids bar is actually something that I found kind of funny and awkward, because they said that, like, I thought it was a Native American group or something like that, but like after they would feed their kid, they would close their mouths, but then the standing over them while they slept, like they would watch their kids sleep and then they open their mouths, they would shut their mouths. I was just like, all right, that's awkward. Yeah. But it was pretty fascinating still.
Started implementing that in my home.
Yeah, just watching your kids sleep.
No, you didn't.
Well,
or when they talked, just close your mouth. Mostly
just closing their mouths in general. But it's for science now. It's for health now.
Yeah. I actually listened to this while running. I did an hour run, and it was while they were doing their testing of running, and I was trying to do the breathing during, and it was uncomfortable.
It's hard.
Yeah. Like it was fine for a while because I was doing zone 2 for a lot of it. It's like, okay, cool. Sometimes I look at my heart rate and it would kind of regulate and go down some, but then I would get to the point where I'd have to stop and start walking. And when I was starting to walk in and starting to recover, that was when I was breathing like, oh my God, this is uncomfortable. I don't like it. I just wanted to breathe. Yeah, I could definitely feel it's uncomfortable, but I think this is one of those really cool books to where it's super fascinating to listen to and all of this stuff. And then it's like super easy to implement. It's not like a lot of these nutrition books, you get a laundry list of like, oh, I can't do all of these things. I need to do all of these things, but how am I going to start? Where am I going to start with this? This is literally just do controlled breathings every day. Like take a couple of 10 minutes or something. I think that's something that's cool to implement in. I don't meditate. I don't think I can meditate at all. I don't pray. I don't do anything like that, but I can sit around, I can sit outside and read and do breathing exercises pretty easy enough that I'll probably try and be more conscious about doing more nasal breathing and also not breathing too much. It was also really cool to hear about. So it's not like getting more oxygen, but getting the right amount and with your carbon dioxide and stuff was pretty cool.
So yeah, the carbon dioxide thing kind of threw me for a loop, and like there were multiple uses for it that he talked about in the book. Like part of it was therapy for people with really bad anxiety, right? Like they were using carbon dioxide to treat people with anxiety. But he also taught something about performance. Do you remember what it was? Performance, like people who were performing better by doing some sort of carbon dioxide therapy?
There was some sort of hyperventilation training that like swimmers and marathon runners and stuff would implement theirs, and then they started to break some record. I forgot what the exact phrasing was, but it was like pseudo hyperventilation in there.
So I think it was something like training them how to hold their breath more and hold that carbon dioxide in, and actually training your brain to not need to take another breath. And that actually improves your breathing during performance and improves your performance in that way, where you're not having to breathe as much while you're competing or while you're training or something. I think that's what it was.
And he said it wasn't like when you hold your breath and you feel like you need to breathe. It's not actually your body's need for oxygen. It's your body's angry about the carbon dioxide in there and wants to get rid of it. That's what I think if you can grow more accustomed to that, you will be a better athlete and you can handle these things a lot better. Because if you think about it, if you hold your breath as long as you can in a controlled environment, and I'm not a doctor and don't recommend that you do this, but what if you just don't ever take that breath? You just will not let yourself, you try to hold your breath as long as you can, you will not let yourself take that breath. You're just going to pass out, right? Like your body's going to shut you down and then start breathing again. So you can push that limit, hypothetically. I'm not suggesting anyone do this. You can push that limit pretty hard if you want to, and see how uncomfortable you can get and how long you can withstand that discomfort just in your bed laying down. It's a pretty simple thing to do.
Yep. Freedivers, they're not taking huge breaths. They're just breathing out really hard, getting rid of everything before they go down.
Yeah. So my takeaways from the book, I absolutely love the book. The subtitle I think is really cool. Was it The New Science of a Lost Art? Mm-hmm. I just think that's a cool subtitle. I've been breathing or have had some sort of breathing practice for a long time now. And I've been breathing for a long, long time. But the breathing practice part of it has probably been about 5 years, I think. And it started when I went to like this camp, and you could go back to the Better Humanology podcast to hear the full story, where I was introduced to basically all the breathing methods, the crazy stuff that he's talked about. Like I did holotropic breathing, had some hallucinations during it. It was just some crazy stuff. So moved from there to basic box breathing, Wim Hof method. I've done a lot of the Wim Hof method, and now I've just kind of settled on doing box breathing. And I've been using this app I've recommended to a lot of people. It's called Breathworks. I think it costs money now. I found it when it was free, and now it costs money. But whatever, I think it's worth the price. It has a lot of different breathing exercises, which is cool because you get a little more variety. Initially, I started breathing practice due to anxiety just from being an entrepreneur, especially in the early days. And it helped me. It helped me a lot. And what I realized early on is if I would do a simple box breathing, so let's say 5-second inhale, 5-second hold, 5-second exhale, 5-second hold. That's the basic box breathing pattern. You can do that in different methods. When I first started doing a breathing practice, I would feel very lightheaded and like I was going to pass out when I would do these very simple breathing practices just for a few minutes. And to me, that was like a trigger that the more you feel like that, the more you needed it. Because I don't feel that way anymore when I do these practices, unless I do something really crazy, like Wim Hof can start to make you feel really crazy. But I think it's really good for people to get into this, just breathing in general, a breathing practice. Also, I think fasting, I think these are kind of like missing elements in the health field. Everyone's all like, oh, you got to be a vegan. If you're following the mainstream, it's like, well, there's a lot more to this health picture. And I think James Nestor did a phenomenal job of kind of highlighting that this is one of the missing elements that we need to put back and dates back for a very long time. Now, if I had anything critical to say about the book, I could have done less on the skulls and the teeth, straight teeth. So he goes through this very long, in-depth thing on straight teeth. I thought it was cool. It's cool information, but he went deep. Like he went really, really deep on why people's teeth are not straight and stuff. So if I had to find something critical about it, just so people know we're not sponsored by Mr. James Nestor here, that would be my only negative thing. But otherwise, I thought it was a phenomenal book. And he ends with such an easy takeaway on like, this is the perfect breath. Here's what you should do. And I'm not going to tell anybody what it is because I don't want to steal his thunder. He wrote a book. Go buy his book and let him tell you what it is. But at the very end, he kind of just like, I've done years and years of research, and this is basically the perfect breath. Go do it. And I was like, that's awesome. That's the best takeaway ever from a book, because a lot of times they don't do that. Like Joe was mentioning these health books where they're like, yeah, well, here's just don't eat these 97 things. Do eat these 114 things and you'll be fine. It's like, well, that's hard to memorize. So anyway, go check it out. I think it was a great book.
It's funny. As I was going through some of the mouth stuff that you just mentioned, I was almost sent you a message and asked if like you went and examined your kids' mouths. Like, all right, let's see what we're going on here.
I talked to Emily about it, but she told me to back off. So I was like, hey, this seems like it's really important. But just something that's interesting.
Shape their mouth shut?
Yeah. Like, do you think, and I did do that. I had that as an update a few podcasts ago. I tried the mouth breathing, but I only did it once, and it was during this limbo period, and there was no effect for me. I didn't notice good or bad with putting tape on my mouth and sleeping. I might try again now that things are way more like normalized and I have better baselines to go off of. So I might try it again, but it didn't have a positive or negative effect, which probably just means I don't snore or breathe through my mouth that much during the night, since I never woke up and was like, oh my gosh, I can't breathe. It was just fine. But to your point with kids, they see me doing breathing practices all the time. When I first started doing all this stuff, I used to feel real weird about it and self-conscious. Like I didn't even want to do it in front of Emily. I'd be like, I'm just going to like go hide and do this because I feel like it's weird. Right? Yeah. And, but now, I mean, I'll do it in the middle of the day, sitting on the couch or like whatever, whenever my kids see, they know they'll come up and watch. They'll try and like do it too, just whatever I'm doing. And so as far as getting children involved in a good practice that might be helpful for them later in life, it's more of just monkey see, monkey do approach is what I'm trying to do as a father in general. Just like, I'm just going to try and do a lot of good things and hopefully they pick up one or two of them. And they definitely see me breathing all the time. Right? It's funny, right? Because we breathe all the time.
We're laughing.
Joke.
Yeah.
We're laughing.
Okay. All right. Workout. Who wants to brief it? It's super complicated.
It's Murph. Whatever Murph is, but it's zone 2.
All right. Call it a day.
Yep. Goodbye.
So zone.
Bye, everybody.
Murph, if you're unfamiliar with workout, run a mile, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, run a mile, wear 20-pound vest if you have it, partition the reps however you want. And in this case, keep your heart rate in zone 2 for the entire
60
workout.
60 to 70% of your max.
There you go.
not many people should wear a vest on this one, even if you do vested Murph, but it's really hard to finish even unvested on this one. I have a pretty decent Murph time and a good heart rate stuff, and I could not finish the first time I did Zone 2 Murph. And by first time, I mean
we
only
cap
time.
it at an hour, right? Or, cap it at an hour.
16-minute cap.
Yeah, so this is probably the most upsetting of all of them.
Mentally,
makes a lot of people angry. I've seen a lot of angry posts about Zone 2 Murph, trying to keep your heart rate within that parameter. But what's cool is if you stick around a long time and you keep doing Zone Murph, you'll get to see improvement. So one way I would say to progress through this, Joe said don't wear a vest. I think that's good advice. Don't wear a vest. See if you can maintain in Zone 2. But then that next time, say you accomplish it under 60 minutes, throw a vest on, but take it off when you can't keep the pace anymore. So, and then your new benchmark will become, how long could I still wear the vest? So if you first accomplish Zone 2 Murph, no vest, under 60 minutes, now you can graduate to the vest and say, like, okay, I made it through mile 1 and 20 pull-ups before I just could not keep my heart rate in Zone 2. I had to take the vest off. So your new benchmark is where you had to take the vest off. That's how I would progress this workout if you could not fit it Zone 2 Murph in under 60 minutes with a vest on. So that's my advice for progressing the workout. A new take here.
Wasn't there somebody who did a whole bunch of Zone 2 Murphs and that sent you their results and how it improved dramatically?
I think his name is Bill Westchester. Pretty cool name. I think you find him on Instagram. So he was doing Murph. Everyone's just doing Murph, like all sorts of crazy ways. And I don't remember what he was doing. I think it was Murph every day for 30 days or 50 days or 100 days, but every day. But he was doing a lot of Zone 2 Murphs. And so he wasn't, in our programming, you're going to see Zone 2 Murph every couple of months. So it's harder to see that progression. And your fitness, you'll see the progression, but like he was seeing it week to week, and he got just doing it on an almost daily basis. Most of his burst Zone 2, which I think is a good recommendation for you to do Murph that often. And he just got better and better at completing the workout much faster and in Zone 2 with a vest on. He might have the PR, to be honest, on the fastest Zone 2 Murph I've seen. I don't remember what it was, but his results were pretty significant.
I suggest don't listen to music on this one. I have not finished this yet, and I've done it unvested, I think twice now. I think we've done it, or maybe 3 times. I don't remember, but I have yet to finish. And I think it was you, Jared, that said maybe you should listen to an audiobook. So I listened to an audiobook last time and I was super close. I think I finished in 62 minutes. Yes, I just finished it, but I want to get it under 60. But we talked about breath. That is the one thing that I focus on when it's the air squats that get me, which kind of crack me up because I hate pull-ups and push-ups, and it's actually the air squats that really get me, and I have to really slow those down and look down at my watch, which also is a mental thing, and
that's
I absolutely hate.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you have to slow down. You're peaking here, and
at least you have the Apple Watch that doesn't turn off the display, right?
True. Yes, I do.
Yeah,
but the first time I did this right when I got this watch, and no, it wasn't this watch. It was my old watch. But remember how my old watch failed me, and I was cursing, but it's okay. Anyways, I focus on my breathing on those air squats as well. I make sure that I take good deep breaths in, good deep breaths out, and I notice that my heart rate goes down a little bit faster when that happens. So that's don't listen to music, focus on your breathing, slow down. It's okay.
Yeah, it's actually something I forgot to mention. All of my Zone 2 stuff now, I'm trying to do nasal only breathing after reading Mr. Nestor's book, because he was talking about cyclists having this like huge increase in performance with lower respiratory rate and the same power output. Just so you know, I tested almost the exact little test he set up, and that was not true for me. Breathing only through my nose. Maybe in the Zone 2, it's fine. When I'm in Zone 2, breathing through my nose, no big deal. But if you get me outside of Zone 2, and I just can't. I can't do it. I don't know if I need to practice it more. Anyway, it didn't work. So all my Zone 2 stuff, whether it's when we're doing a deload week or Zone 2 Murph, I try to just breathe through my nose only, and that seems to help a lot.
My only suggestion here is have a good heart rate tracker every time I've done Zone 2 Murph. I've been very, very frustrated by my, well, it's not a sponsor, so I can bash it. My Fitbit, it's not very good when it comes to this, or doesn't seem to be either my heart is jacked up or my Fitbit's jacked up. And
definitely the Fitbit.
I'm definitely leaning Fitbit, and there's no plans for me to have anything different by the time we do this again. So I'll be doing it with the Fitbit again. But for those of you that, have the ability to go get one or don't have one yet or are looking for one, get one that's going to be really accurate and really good for you, because that's the only way to do zone 2 Murph. You have to know where your heart rate is in order to know if you're in zone 2 or not. So you need something that's dependable and accurate. So, and I, based on my experience, would suggest not using a Fitbit. But
yeah, I almost brought up the heart rate thing too, because Garmin's wrist heart rate is not very good. So you're going to need the chest strap if you don't have one yet. Not telling you to go out and buy one, but yeah. So if you find that you're working pretty hard and you're still in zone 2, if you don't have a decent tracker, that's probably why.
And then the only parting shot I have is I mentioned heat and heart rate at the beginning of the podcast. You're going to have to take that into account, depending on if you're trying to benchmark this one, it doesn't benchmark the same. It just doesn't. And that's true of a lot of summer workouts. They just don't benchmark the same. But I know for a fact, I probably won't complete this one. I normally do get zone 2 Murph under 60 minutes. I probably won't this time because my garage, I'll do it on a Saturday. I'll do it in my garage. The garage will probably be in the middle of the day just because that's how Saturdays roll. Sometimes it'll be 115 degrees in there. Yeah, I might get time capped halfway through Murph. I don't know. But you have to really take into account. I know the first time I did it was not very challenging, but it was also it's like winter time. It was, it was much colder and it was fine. But now the heat throwing in there. So just don't get frustrated if you move backwards in a midsummer zone 2 Murph.
I've been going to the gym on base on Saturdays. So I might just do it on I might do it on the winter and see what happens. But
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very controlled environment. I like it. That's my dream. I want to do Murph on a true form.
Just come visit us again.
Well, we're going to be playing with fire.
Yeah, Joe, has that episode been published yet where I make that public claim?
It's probably not till very last of September, early October, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so even if it happens to us soon, I have
you'll
several
have 2
months.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you guys will get it soon enough. All right, that's it. We'll get out of here quickly today. I just will say, if you are one of our athletes, the new cycle webinar and new cycle right around the corner. Make sure you sign up for the webinar. Very important. We hash out a lot of information, and I'm going to be talking about the new standards, which are going to be really cool to go over. So start asking questions about how to sign up for that. If you don't know how to sign up for the new cycle webinar, you've never attended one, sign up, and you will also get the replay. And if you are thinking about joining our training, it's a great time because we're going to be ramping down and then ramping up into some testing and then a new cycle. And I think it would be really fun for you to get involved now. And get your feet wet in the middle towards the end of a cycle. It'll just kick your ass, and then a deload, then a little bit of testing, which is basically a deload. Come on. And then a lot of fun for the cycle. But that's it, guys. That's all I have for this one. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.